No Man's Sky is an absolutely massive game with a load of features in it, and on top of that, it gets a load of brand new features every year added to the game with the multiple major updates that Hello Games release for it. And with all of these nice shiny new features that get added, it means that a bunch of existing ones often get forgotten about. And some of these features are actually less known in the first place. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of those features that you may or may not have forgotten about over the years in No Man's Sky. And on top of that, I have some even lesser known expert tips thrown into this video as well for good measure. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck in. So first of all, let's talk about racing. Now obviously everyone knows about base building in No Man's Sky, and everyone probably knows about Exocraft in No Man's Sky as well, but players often forget that you can combine the two and create yourself your very own racetrack. Now these racetracks can be quite customizable, so you could have them on water, you could make them orbital bases with racetracks, you can have them rallies, or you can have a combination of all three if you so desired, enabling you to create some truly epic racetracks. I have come across a bunch in my time playing No Man's Sky, and it's always a good challenge to try and beat other players' times. Now, if you'd like to know about No Man's Sky racetracks in great detail, along with the portal coordinates to this track that I'm racing on and to other utterly amazing racetracks on the same planet, I have created a video in the past covering absolutely all of that. I will leave a link to that video in the description of this video, so check it out after you finish this one. You will not be disappointed, because racetracks in No Man's Sky are actually pretty fun. Now, sticking with the subject of bases, you're also not limited to just creating things like sculptures, buildings, towns, or racetracks, for example. No, you can also create games a little bit like this Bullseye challenge, which is a base located in the Eastern Time Galaxy, and it was created by Reddit user Legend of Viper. Now, the premise is pretty simple for this game anyway. You use your multi-tool to launch the ball onto the target, and the closer you get to the center, the more points you get, and then the scoreboard gets updated. And it's certainly an excellent game to play with one of your friends, so for example, who gets a higher score out of 3 shots. Now, I have also come across other game type bases, including a recreation of Rocket League, and also a football one, which updates the score where you, score, obviously. But anyway, you may be thinking, how on earth have players actually built games within the No Man's Sky game and within their base? Well, I can let you know how this Bullseye game works, basically. So within each scoring boundary, there are floor switches, and once your ball hits one of those switches, a logic circuit is executed to update the scoreboard. Simples. I mean, I'm joking, it's not simple. Look at all these switches on the run up to the platforms where you shoot the balls. But that is a really, really brief overview of how this works. So if you actually want to come and visit this Bullseye base and see how you do, and see how the circuits actually fit together, the portal coordinates for it should be on your screen right about now. Next up, let's talk about the catalogue, and I wouldn't be surprised if you said to me that you know it's there, so why am I including it in a video of forgotten features? Well, I'm actually talking about a specific feature within the catalogue for this, and that is of course the ability to set a course for a certain resource. So let's say you want to craft something for your base or starship or whatever, but you're missing a resource to do that. And let's say, right, moving on but still sticking in a similar area of the game. Let's talk about the Wonders catalogue this time around and your personal records on top of that. Again, you might be thinking, what's so good about this? All it does is show me stuff like the largest planet I've ever visited, or maybe the smallest planet I've ever visited, but nothing really more interesting than that. Well, what the Wonders catalogue does on top of that is actually show you the portal coordinates to these discoveries. Again, back to Paradise Planets. One of the categories in the Wonders catalogue is the most Paradise planets you've ever visited. And on top of that, would you like to know a little expert tip here on how this forgotten feature can actually lead you directly to lush or perhaps even Paradise planets? Well, if you use this feature to locate yourself Paraffinium or Starbulb, for example, that will take you directly to a lush planet of some description, which may just be a Paradise planet if you're lucky, because these two resources only appear on those kind of planets. Simples. Right, moving on, but still sticking in a similar area of the game. Let's talk about the Wonders catalogue this time around and your personal records on top of that. The final little bit in this area is the personal records section. Now let's say you visited a freaking amazing planet in the past, but it's been too long since you visited that space station so it doesn't appear in the teleport menu, or perhaps you forgot to place a base computer there, or perhaps you even forgot to visit the space station in the first place. Well, you can save this planet to your personal records if you can find it in your discoveries. And again, it will give you the portal coordinates to that planet. Pretty neat, right? And pretty useful. I know I've mentioned portal coordinates a couple times now. If you want to find out exactly how to find portals quickly and how to get all 16 of the portal glyphs even quicker, I've got videos covering both of those topics, so I'll leave a link to both of those videos in the description below for you as well. The final little bit in this area is the personal records section. Now let's say you visited a freaking amazing planet in the past, but it's been too long since you visited that space station so it doesn't appear in the teleport menu, or perhaps you forgot to place a base computer there, or perhaps you even forgot to visit the space station in the first place. Well, you can save this planet to your personal records if you can find it in your discoveries. And again, it will give you the portal coordinates to that planet. Pretty neat, right? And pretty useful. I know I've mentioned portal coordinates a couple times now. If you want to find out exactly how to find portals quickly and how to get all 16 of the portal glyphs even quicker, I've got videos covering both of those topics, so I'll leave a link to both of those videos in the description below for you as well. Right, if like me, you like to visit a lot of other players' bases, and you may have heard some real funky tunes being played, you know, a little bit like this one. Now, these aren't just random tunes you can pick from a list. I mean, sometimes they are, but there's no list, they're just random. But anyway, these tunes can be created by players themselves using the byte beat device, which is a base building object, and quite frankly, one I actually always forget actually exists in the game, which probably explains why I'm absolutely awful at creating any decent music out of this really underused but awesome feature. It's actually reasonably in depth, like for making music. It allows you to create some really cool, good songs, and I've heard some players creating reimaginings of real life songs in No Man's Sky using the byte beat device. So I'd highly recommend you guys have a play around with it and see what you can come up with. You know what, in fact, if you do end up creating some excellent music to add to some of your bases, please do leave a comment below letting us know what the portal coordinates to that base is and what galaxy it is in, because I would love to check them out, and who knows, if the base is awesome enough, it may even appear in one of my base showcase videos. Right, this next one is not strictly a feature you can interact with, but more a feature you can benefit from in a number of ways. So, you all know about storms in No Man's Sky, and yes, some are annoying as hell because you can barely see what the feck is going on, but often players forget that these storms can actually be incredibly useful from time to time, and the reason for that is they give you certain buffs. Now, the buff will differ depending on what type of storm it is. I'll give you a couple of examples. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that a blizzard gives your mining beam a heat dispersion, meaning it's going to take a lot longer for it to overheat. The opposite end of the spectrum is a firestorm, and that is going to increase your jetpack's duration, meaning you can fly much further on a single tank. A radioactive supercell is going to increase the yield of resources you get when you use your terrain manipulator. And finally, a toxic rainstorm is going to give you an increased sprint duration. See, even though storms are pretty annoying, they ain't all that bad after all. Now, when it comes to cooking, there is often a forgotten feature around it as well. So when I speak to a lot of No Man's Sky players, a lot of the time they only ever use the cooking mechanic in the game when they have to, say for example when you need to complete an expedition by cooking various things. And sometimes I've been guilty of that as well, but cooking can be beneficial in a number of other ways. And similar to how storms give you buffs, so does consuming the food you actually cook. There is a pretty extensive list of recipes you can cook up in the nutrient processor. Yes, that pun was intended. I'm not going to include them all in this video because it would take up the entire fucking video, but you can get things like health boosts, energy boosts, increased hazard protection, jetpack boosts, and even nanites from consuming some of the food you cook. so I'd highly recommend you play around with it and see what recipes can give you. I will also link every single recipe in the description of this so you can check out what you need and what it gives you. And here is another expert tip with regards to the nutrient processor itself that people often forget about. Did you know it has its very own storage where you can lob excess resources in it, but only ones that actually can work in the processor itself? If you pick up the nutrient processor with all these resources in it and walk around, it will retain all of those items you've stuck in there, so basically you can save a lot of inventory space by utilizing this extra storage, just in case you're running a bit low on space, like I often find myself doing. Now, back to bases, sort of. So if you've ever been on planets with a boatload of bases, you may notice some of the names could be in different colors, or perhaps they have little icons on the name, and you may be wondering, how the bloody hell are people managing to do this? Well, it's pretty simple because there is a forgotten or perhaps even little known feature in the first place that allows you to change the color of the text of your bases or add these little icons to them. Reddit user the John Zoo has created a comprehensive guide on how you can both add icons and change the color of the text. So the images look like this, but I will link the Reddit post in the description of the video so you can refer back to it if you fancy standing out from the crowd or just playing around with it. But yeah, this is one feature that most No Man's Sky players I've interacted with don't actually know exists in the first place. Well, there you have it, folks. There are a number of forgotten features in No Man's Sky, and in some cases, lesser known features in No Man's Sky. Would you like to let me know which one was your favourite in the comments below? And on top of that, if you do know of any other forgotten features or less known features that you think are worthy of this list, why not leave a comment below as well, letting us all know what that feature is, because I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful, and if you are still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can now become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in my next one.